Hey everyone, it's Dr. Danielle. I'm here with the Win Women Network. It is Friday. Happy Friday. If you're here live, it is 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Thank you so much for hanging out live. No worries if you're catching the replay. It's the same good information and the same good energy. If you're not familiar with me, I'm a dog mama, I'm a cat mama, I'm a human mama. I'm a business professor and a psychic medium, a life coach, and so much more. I am here today to talk about reinventing yourself. There is so many reasons you want to not only have the power and tools to reinvent yourself, but you want the ability, you want the tools, you want the tactics. Now more than ever, we're changing fast and the world is changing fast. And it's really obvious we're not meant to be stagnant. We're really meant to flow. And so if we're feeling ourselves stuck in a certain identity, right? Whether it's we've always identified with being a mom, or we've always identified with working at this company, it's a good time for us to consider breaking or shifting or expanding ourselves, whatever that looks like for you. Some of you might be here because you're looking for a small transformation, a small yet beautiful transformation. Others might be here to say, wow, I really want to rip the Band-Aid off and become someone new. Again, whether it's your externals, your friend group, where you're working, what you're doing for work, or it's your internals. I want to feel different. I want to be different. I want to act different. So we're going to cover all of it. Really important for you to know in this reinventing yourself journey, everyone's pace is different, right? So some are going to want to and should kind of do that rip the Band-Aid off approach, right? Where for them to reinvent themselves, they really need to go big or go home. They need to make some big changes and they need to make them fast. Beautiful. Others are going to be a little bit more slow and steady, a little bit more methodical. So there's no right or wrong way. It's whatever your intuition is telling you is best for you. What I would encourage you to do when we're working on changing ourselves, it's critical that we go ahead and we touch base with our intuition to ask what pace it wants us to work on. And one way we can work with our intuition and understand what our body is trying to tell us is muscle testing. If you're not familiar with muscle testing, I'm going to give you a quick activity to help you understand the power of it. And the more we use muscle testing, the better. The energy and the familiar rhythm of it grows, and it becomes a more regular, a more reliable tool in our life. So we're going to say, let's say you're thinking about reinventing yourself and you no longer want to be associated as the drinker, right? You've kind of had this pivotal moment in your life and you're like, I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to be the fun girl out there drinking all the time. I want to feel like something bigger. I want to be known for something bigger, right? And then a question for you is, okay, what does that look like for you? Are you going to stop drinking altogether? Are you going to stop hanging out with your friends and create a new life? Or is it just subtle changes? Do you still go out and drink soda waters and lime, or are you just capping yourself at one wine? There's so many questions as an example. And muscle testing can help us better understand what serves us. So when I use muscle testing, what I do, whether I'm sitting or standing, I typically find what I'm going to call my neutral zone, my base zone, right? So I'm sitting up straight. I have good posture, but I'm not tight. I'm loose and relaxed. And I just sit with my neutral for a while. And I'll tell myself, if you need to know something, this is a yes. So I lean forward. If you need to know something, this is a yes. And if I need to know that it's a no, I'm going to pull back. I'm going to pull back. So this is a yes forward. This is neutral. This is no. And sometimes I'll even play a little bit further and I'll say, is your name Danielle? And then I just gradually lean forward, almost to program my body to know the difference between neutral, yes, and no. And then I'll start asking myself those questions, right? Should I stop drinking? See what your body does. Do you start to lean forward naturally? And I do close my eyes because I think it helps anytime we can minimize stimulation when we're working with our body. It helps. Or are you more neutral, right? Maybe there's not a big shift that needs to happen. Or if it's a no, like that's not going to serve you, that's not needed. Muscle testing is a great way as you're making lots of changes in your life to check in with yourself to say, is this going to serve me? I encourage you to try it. So again, I like doing yes here, a neutral here, and a no here. And the more you use that, the stronger it becomes. When we reinvent ourselves, there's so many challenges associated to reinventing ourselves. One I really want to spend some time on, and that is we are not comfortable making instant change. We feel as though we need to explain ourselves if we're going to change a piece of ourselves to others. We feel as though it needs to be slow and steady. And I'd like to break that misconception. When we are in it to transform ourselves, we don't need to be worried about our timeline and if that feels comfortable to others. We don't need to explain ourselves to others. Oftentimes, people don't change or aren't honest to who they are and stay in the closet in some way or the other because they feel like their timeline isn't socially acceptable. And I want to break that. There's no such thing as an acceptable timeline for wanting to make change. You don't need to explain yourself, and you don't need to go slower than what your soul wants you to do. So if you're, let's say, all of a sudden attracted to country music and you've never liked country music ever, right? Just go with it. Don't even question it. And sometimes we're worried like, oh no, what are my friends going to think? They're going to think I'm odd because I've never liked country. I'm no longer going to have friends to go with. Like whatever those like fear loops are, just go with it. Honor yourself. Maybe you're opening up to something new, so you can learn, so you can meet new people. We are not meant to stay the same. We should be continuously learning because that makes us more agile, right? If we continue to do the same thing over and over and over again, depending on what we're talking about, sure, maybe we become a specialist in that area, maybe become comfortable and familiar. But the downside of that is, are we getting ourselves to be more agile? Are we exercising the muscle that we desperately need right now? And that is to be flexible, to be open to change, to be nimble as the world continues to move fast and furiously. And what's beautiful about reinventing ourselves is, it gives us the opportunity to explore different sides of ourselves. There shouldn't be any guilt that all of a sudden you don't like something anymore, or you went to school for something, but now you want to work and do something different. I hear from people all the time, and they fall into this fear-based, well, I went to school for this, or this is the smart thing to do. Like, no, like we're not here to do the smart thing. We're here to do our soul's work. We are here to do what best serves us. And while that college degree and that college major may have served you at that moment, may have served you in that decade, it might not mean that it was meant to be a forever thing. And that doesn't mean you lost your money. That doesn't mean you lost your time. It means you gained beautiful experiences, and it means those fulfilled you so much that you are now on a path for more. We should be letting ourselves grow and exploring different sides of us. But again, society often tells us that we need to stay in our lane, that we shouldn't change. And I'd like to remove that. And I want you to consider who directly tells you that in your life, or maybe even indirectly, right? You just feel like someone's judging, or maybe the people around you haven't felt comfortable with change themselves. So you make yourself small to still fit in, right? Fit in with your family, or fit in with your friends, or fit in with your colleagues. And the reality is, to reinvent yourself, you're going to have to rise above that noise, and be comfortable with instant change. Even though you don't understand it, you need to honor what you're wanting to do. And so once we can get past the fear of others, or even the fear of ourselves, right? Sometimes something we want is coming to us so fast that we become a little unsure, like, whoa, that's not what I wanted last week. Why all of a sudden do I want this, right? And absolutely take the time to reflect. Take the time to make sure it's not a whim, right? There should absolutely be some strategy involved with reinventing yourself, but also don't overthink it. There's nothing wrong if all of a sudden you're like, I need a change. I no longer want to be known as this kind of a person. I want to explore this. I want to move away from this. I want to try this. All of those things. A big part of reinventing ourselves is we need to identify our habits, and then we need to break them. And that's easier said than done. If you haven't done this in a bit, I would encourage you for the next week, 2 weeks, keep a log almost of everything you do, like even the smallest things. You wake up and you're scrolling on Facebook, and then you switch to Instagram, and then you check your emails, write that down, right? And then you call your girlfriend and you vent for 20 minutes, and then you fill in the blank. Write it all down, and then look at it, not to judge yourself, but to take an honest look at what habits, what bad behavior that's no longer serving me do I need to come in and address? Because there's no way you're going to change unless you look at your habits, right? The habits that are no longer serving you. Does this always trigger you and you end up spinning out? Are you always on social media first thing in the morning, like I mentioned, right? Are you always consuming a sleeve of Oreos when you get home and then you're beating yourself up about it? We need to get honest, and we need a full look at the things that are keeping us from our full potential and from us becoming that new version of ourselves. So take stock into your habits, and definitely work on minimizing bad habits, reconsidering habits, and interjecting some new habits, right? I'd also say it's really important for you to establish some goals. Reinventing ourselves is big, right? And that means something different to everyone, right? Again, you might be looking to move and become a happier person. That's big, right? Moving and becoming a happier, lighter, brighter version, that's big. And so it almost feels impossible to take care of that without having something tangible, right? So it's breaking them down into mini goals. What can you do to support a move, right? Maybe for the next 2 or 3 months, it's talking to other people who have lived in states or neighborhoods that you've considered. Maybe it's subscribing to a few new newsletters and connecting with some realtors. Maybe it's you taking a few new trips. Creating those goals can really help. Transformation is all about mindset shifting. It's critical for you to believe. I love the expression, you need to believe to receive. And I feel like that's so true. You need to believe to receive. It's all about having a growth mindset. You're always going to fall trapped to those same old patterns, to the same old you, to the same old friends or career. If you don't believe that growth is possible, like you no longer have to identify with fill in the blank, right? And so that doesn't come overnight either. So if you find yourself doubting yourself or judging yourself, that's another area that you want to lean into, right? Just the basic self-love and self-compassion, because you're not going to get to where you need to be if you continuously doubt yourself, right? Like attracts like. So the more you doubt yourself, the more you put yourself down, the thoughts are really going to equal the lack of opportunity flowing your way. I'd also say you need to celebrate your small wins, right? Let's say your reinvention path is you're like, I want to be stronger. I want to lose some weight. I want to be stronger and I want to feel better, right? You need to celebrate some small wins. You might not hit your goal for 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, and that's far too long to go without celebrating yourself. When we invest time to celebrate our success, it really helps us remember the journey, how far we've come, and it gives us the love and the motivation we need to stay on the path, I'll give an example from my professional life where I feel like I did a really solid job reinventing myself. I had worked in corporate America for over a decade, and I had always been in some sort of a customer service management role. And this piece of me started saying, it's time to explore human resources. It's time to use more of your interpersonal communication skills, not for the client, not for the customer, but for the employee. And then, of course, my fear kicked in. Well, I don't have any HR experience. And, do I have to go back to school? And who do I think I am? And am I too late in my career to shift? All that kind of noise came up. And I listened to it. And I think that's very important too. Don't just consume it and don't just push it away. It's important to listen to it. Like, okay, hey, what do you have to say? But I was able to see that I was just falling trapped to imposter syndrome, right? I did have human resources experience. I had several HR classes from college under my belt. A lot of the things that I had done in my customer service management role were directly related to HR, things like training, things like hiring, things like firing. And so I got clear on almost like an inventory, if you will, of where am I? Not my feelings taking over, a very black and white inventory. Where am I? And where do I need to be to get there? And so that's where some lists kind of come in, right? Well, obviously, I need to shift my confidence in the sphere of HR. Perhaps I need to shift other people in the business community to look at me as an HR professional, right? And so I put together some tangibles. What did I need to learn? What did I need to do internally? And one of the things that really helped me was visualizations. And visualizations is another really fantastic tool. And it's really about just investing some time in your day, doesn't matter when, whatever serves you, and taking the time to see and feel yourself doing whatever it is that you want to be doing. It's a form of getting yourself there, mind, body, and soul, to build up that knowing, to build that energy that's going to attract what you're looking for, to help manifest. And I'd take some time to visualize myself in an HR role, how good it felt, how nice it was to be supporting employees, to have a different expansion of my career, right? And I'd sit in it. I'd see myself. Sometimes I'd see myself walking down the hall. Sometimes I'd see myself in a meeting or crafting a policy or procedure. And I'd feel it. I'd feel the rush. I'd feel the sense of purpose, the sense of responsibility. And I do encourage you to consider visualizations as well as you're working towards reinventing yourself. And then I did a lot of almost acting as if I was in HR for a bit. I started going to HR networking mixers, right? Kind of like fake it till you make it. Not that I was faking it though. I really felt like I belonged, but it was that sense of, okay, maybe I don't belong at the HR mixer. I'm not in HR yet, but I know I'm going to be there and I know I belong, right? So I started going to HR mixers. I started taking a few extra HR trainings. I started connecting with more HR professionals on LinkedIn. I started to immerse myself in the field. I started posting about HR on LinkedIn, and I created a blog focused on different career topics focused on HR. And so I really walked the walk and I talked the talk. And I think that's so important. Oftentimes we say, I'm not going to do something until I have the title, or I'm not going to do something because of fill in the blank, but that's not how we reinvent ourselves. We need to get ourselves there, right? If we wait till we have the title, it's going to be much harder to then find the energy, to find the appreciation, to find the steps that you need to get to where you're going. So I say immerse yourself as early as possible. So, reinvent yourself. Maybe you're here saying, I need to get out of this relationship. I need to get out of this relationship. Use these tools, use the muscle testing as it relates to some of these small and big decisions you need to make. Visualize yourself in a setting. Maybe it's you independent, walking in a field, you feel light, you feel proud, right? Use that power. Maybe you visualize, another partner. What does it feel like to be with somebody who respects you, who up levels you? All of these things are important, and start surrounding yourself with the right support group. And this is really key too. So similar how I kind of found my HR support group, whatever you're looking to change, find your people, find your cheerleaders, the ones that might not be in it with you, but they support you, right? Like, hey, how you doing with that, Danielle? Like, I'm proud of you. I'm cheering you on. Find people who can directly help, subject matter experts in the space. Your support team, when it comes to change, is critical. And then it's things like affirmations, keeping this alive on the hard days. Oftentimes, right, things are easy when they're easy, right? You're making forward progress, and all of a sudden something unexpected happens, and then like poof, right? Like you're like, oh, I didn't see that happen. And now you're, off your journey. No, you're not. No, you're not. Minor setback. You need to get focused. And you need to come back. You need to come back and be prepared for those moments too when you're working on reinventing yourself. It's not all going to be easy. You're going to put together a plan. You're going to have the great support system, right? And there's still going to be, things like imposter syndrome that come in. There's going to be things like fear. There's going to be things like a lack of resources, a lack of clarity. It truly is going to be one of these games times, if you will, of exploration, of bloopers, of blunders, of triumphs, of trials, and just know that, be gentle to yourself. You're not going to give yourself the change that you need, the forever change, the change that sticks, without all of this. And I did end up becoming an HR professional, and that was beautiful. And it wasn't just about getting a new job, although I really needed a new job. I had been with that company 11 years and there were so many changes there. But it was more than just getting an HR job. It was important that I followed my soul and I took the steps to change. And I've done that so many times in my career. I went to cosmetology school when I was young. I did that for less than a year. I was not good at it. And I admitted, like, I'm not good at this. I need to leave. And that's really important for you to do too, right? Like we can be terrible at things, but we're not good at admitting it. We just keep pushing and trying to make it work. And that's not fair to you. That's not fair to others involved. So that's another really good one, right? Like if you're just forcing something, that's a really good sign of, yeah, you might make some change, but it's not going to stick. And that's what's really important. When we make change, we want it to stick. So that way we do get to a point where it's effortless, where it just becomes a piece of us, where it is another extension of us. This has been fun. I know this is a big information share. As always, take what feels right to you. Take what feels right to you and you ditch the rest. And that's really the magic of reinventing yourself. That's the secret sauce. Take what serves you and ditch the rest. I'm very excited for your transformation journey. I hope this has given you inspiration and perspective and a lot of different tools for you to apply. At any point you're feeling overwhelmed, if you want to set up a one-on-one, I'm at drdanielleclark.com. You can schedule a one-on-one with me. Feel free to email me too if you just want to say hi and say how this episode benefited you, or maybe something you tried and you have questions about. I'd love the interaction, and just know change is possible. You have the unlimited potential to heal yourself, to change, to expand. You are unlimited. I'll leave you with that, my friends. Be well until next time. I am sending you love and light. Take care. Bye.